Okay, part 3, let's go. I'm surprised Rayson didn't notice this back in the end of chapter 15. Well, we're on the right trail, I guess. Yeah, so had a feeling we'd be fighting in this part of the map this time, but Nessia's found something. That's not the heron we're looking for. It doesn't seem like you can really understand her, though. Unlike Rayson, she only speaks Ancient Tongue. Oh no. Of course you'd show up now! So we have a fight on our hands again. This time with a lot of mages. And a lot more swamp terrain in our way. And this is a good line. So, as you can see, there's something a little unique here. Also, this is kind of funny. If you brought Gatry, just like... Look how far he has to run and how long it takes him. Anyway, we get to choose 2 reinforcements here. I don't think I'll go for reinforcements. I don't think I need any at this point. So, the first thing to note about this chapter is that it's a defend map, and Ike is stuck carrying Leanne for the rest of this entire chapter. Thankfully, I wasn't really having him fight much anyway, but if Ike's not level 20 by now, it's going to be very hard to get him experience, because he's going to have his skill and speed halved for the rest of the chapter. And no repositioning, unfortunately, which is really, really annoying, because I really don't want Volk that far forward, but I guess it's what I have to work with. Again, it's kind of like early Fire Emblem Heroes before they updated it, or Thrakia 776, but you could rearrange characters in the menu and have them in the right positions if you knew which menu slots correspond to which position. But anyway, because we can't really trade items, because we can't reposition, nothing else to do but to fight. Now, there are going to be reinforcements that spawn from around here eventually, so you'll have to be aware of that. Usually for this, I like to have Ike run into a corner of the map and just stay there. The speedrun strategy for this chapter is pretty funny. It just involves Ike just standing in one corner and nothing really being able to attack him all that much. Now, the, again, quote-unquote boss here is a Sage whose stats are kind of bad and has Hellfire. We already got an Hellfire tome. I believe Tormod joined with it. Also, we have an archer down here with a longbow, but it's just a regular archer. It's not like it's going to be that much of an issue. Thunder is always annoying, though. Okay, drawable men staff, but we could always just steal that anyway. And that's pretty much all. So, first port of call is to clear out the enemies that are surrounding us, and then we'll advance down here. The enemies will be coming at us for most of this chapter, due to it being, you know, a defend map, like I said. Let's see if Soren can fight here. I was talking earlier about how I wanted Soren to get his rank up in fire. Now, something that I have not been able to mention yet in this playthrough, which is kind of a shame because, I don't know, I probably should have said this earlier, but some people feel like weapon ranks take longer to raise in Path of Radiance compared to the GBA games, and that's actually true. The reason why this happens is that in the GBA games, the fatal blow against an enemy, so as in the attack that actually kills them, gives double weapon experience. This bonus is not in Path of Radiance or Radiant Dawn, so because of that, weapon ranks take longer to raise, which is kind of unfortunate. Speaking of kind of unfortunate, I think I actually have to have Nephany use the Javelin here, otherwise some of those mages might not end up dying on the enemy phase. And that's not even Wrath. Also, Halberdiers don't even get a crit bonus in this game. That's Radiant Dawn. So, yeah, this is pretty much the point where Nephany starts getting really good. Speaking of enemies suiciding into us, I'm going to have Stefan use the Armor Slayer because I really don't care what he's using here. We're not going to be fighting that many generals. Stefan doesn't really take magic all that well due to his low dodge rate for a Swordmaster. Also, don't worry, that only consumed one weapon use, I'm pretty sure, because even half damage, one hit was still enough to kill. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that only consumed 2 uses total. And now let's finish off the last mage here with the Iron Axe, because I like to get axe experience for Jill. Once she's able to use killer axes, that's going to be pretty fun. Then I'll just clear out the rest of the enemies around here. I mean, they should probably end up clearing themselves out. Kind of want Jill to be sort of lower down, even though there are archers down here. It doesn't look like there are many snipers. I will need to keep some people back here. I've currently got Stefan as my designated reinforcement handling person. We are starting to run a little low on weapons, and that's actually not going to kill you. Ironically, I have a better chance of killing the sword user than I do the axe user. But I guess that just shows how weak most sword users are in this game, and that's free restore staff experience, if I can find a safe opening to get missed in to restore you. Yeah, I wish the restore staff existed in Fates. It was kind of dumb that it didn't, because it's just like, oh yeah, we have staffs that can, like, make your HP halve for the rest of the chapter, and there's no way to cure it. That was irritating. Meanwhile, Gatral will just go down here. And let's see, we've got a few enemies around there. Don't want Ike to get attacked by much. Don't want Boyd to get attacked by much either, because Boyd is pretty bad at this point. Wow, that strength is terrible. I could give that extra steel sword to Stefan. He might need it. And I won't have... Actually, wait, no. Maybe I will have Jill go over here, because that way she might be able to lure one of these. And Volk really doesn't need to do anything. Like I said, Mist might eventually be useful here, but... not really safe for her to run out there and cure Titania, because Mist at this point really can't take hits very well at all. Later in the game, she still can't take hits that well, but she's at least a little bit better at it. I love when that happens. Soren is pretty likely to max out resistance. Most of the mages in this game are, except Tormod. But Tormod does have better defense on average than the others, so it kind of averages out. I always thought that, like, maybe in another Fire Emblem game, the idea of an armored mage might be an interesting concept. I was kind of hoping that when, like, Arvis got added to FE4, also, here's the point in the game where Leth starts to drop off in usefulness a little bit, but I was hoping that when Arvis got added to FE4 that he'd be an armored mage like his second-gen incarnation. Also, the little hops wyverns do to get close to enemies can be funny sometimes. Oh, great. Yeah, of course you'd do that. But I think you're still in kill range of people. And this is probably not going to do much. Yeah, I thought so. No damage, because enemies with hand axes are pretty weak. And Gage is doubling you. and he missed. I can get rid of you next turn anyway. I thought you'd do that. Now, I wonder if the Javelin will be enough. It looks like it's just enough. Just not enough. I will need to forge some throwing weapons when I get the chance. And I will get the chance very soon. Okay, we've got a lot of ranged enemies and mages coming at us at this point. So javelins are good, and more enemies. I love how that one soldier's a little bit late. He's just like, oh, we're going now, Right, okay. A few more mages over there. Might want to get Serenes into position in that case. As you can see, this chapter is kind of a treasure trove of experience. A.k.a. is going to go right in the middle of all these things and start throwing javelins everywhere. Even with this many mages, he should be fine. The Night Ward does give +2 resistance as well as defense, so that's effectively 2 less magic damage, which can make a difference when you're being attacked by this many mages. What are you? Yeah, you're still level 3. Everyone's like level 3 to 4. Nephany needs quite a bit more experience, though. And considering that thing only has 1... Might as well use the steel here. Wait a minute. No, wait, that's 18 times 2. That'll be enough. Thought it was 16 times 2 for a second. Well, Nephany's at least getting a little bit closer to being in Wrath range. That's something. And, yeah, I think Stefan will finish you. That's just enough, which is good. Stefan at this point kills most things. Can still be a bit of a glass cannon, though. As you can see. And doesn't get all that much experience due to his higher level. Speaking of experience, Void can't even get to you. Maybe Mist should... Although if I move Mordecai there, he's going to get attacked by a whole bunch of things. I really just want to smite Mist so she can heal people. But I don't want... Like, if I move Mordecai there, it means less enemies suiciding themselves into Gatry. Suppose for now I can just have Leth attack you. So yeah, at this point, Leth is starting to drop off in usefulness a little bit. I'm mainly bringing her for her support with Jill. Which is going to be pretty cool, and I really, really can't wait to show off the B support. The B support is really, really good, actually. It's also kind of funny in light of certain things in Radiant Dawn, but... Yeah, I'm mentioning that game a lot, but it's only because I'm planning to play it right after this one. It's kind of funny. I guess while there's not that much going on, I can go on a bit of a tangent here. In that, like, a video that a certain high-profile Let's Player did talking about his approach to Let's Plays, one thing that he talked about that I found kind of interesting, because, in fact, I might have already mentioned this in my Persona 3 The Answer commentary, but he talked about how he often doesn't like to compare a game to earlier or later installments in the series. Although it's a bit weird, because then in the Runaway Guys Coliseum, he was talking about how he likes to explain how certain things in like older Pokemon games work differently to the newer ones, so that's kind of I don't know. But anyway, he was basically talking about how he doesn't like to compare games to other games in the series because he likes to sort of keep it as if like every game is somebody's first game, and I might as well just equip that, actually. That makes you automatically transform with not that good stats, though. And that basically he wants all of the series, every series that he does to stand on its own, but I don't know, I just kept thinking about how I don't really do things that way, and I've always made a habit of explaining how things are different to later games in the series, or how things change, and that's just, I like doing that. I like addressing the differences between games in the series, especially like in a series like Fire Emblem, where basic mechanics like evasion, as in the evade formula, weapon triangle, the way that lots of things are calculated, even the way mounted units work, it changes a lot from game to game, weapon weight especially, so I don't know, it's just one of those things where everyone has their own style when doing game commentary, and my style is my own, and I wouldn't change it just because someone else does it differently. Like, I try to make, it's part of why I like to explain most of the tutorial-ish stuff in the early chapters whenever I do a Fire Emblem game, because I do like to make them, all my Fire Emblem series accessible to somebody who's never played a game in the series before, like from the first part, but I also like to explain, you know, how, like, mechanics that I might like better in later games, mechanics that I think are actually done better in earlier games, like, for example, forging. I feel like this game's forging system is ironically the best forging system in the series, despite the fact that it was the first ever forging system. But yeah, it's just a thing of, like, how everyone has their own style when doing things, but I hope people, you know, at least enjoy this. I don't know, I never really expected my Fire Emblem series to get as much, I don't know, I wouldn't really say popularity, but I'm glad that people like them at least. It's still, like, it always is a hard decision between this and Pokemon. It's my favorite game series, but Fire Emblem probably edges it out very slightly. Except, oh, no, wait, except, it's hard. Both of them actually have a special place in my heart, and again, it's kind of funny that I only got into Fire Emblem by accident when my parents got, the GBA Fire Emblem for me instead of Pokemon Fire Red. And then they also got me Fire Red as well for the same birthday, so that was a good birthday. I tell that story a lot, but I always find it interesting how you can get into certain series that you really love just by complete accident. One day I might even do a video explaining how I got into most of the game series that I like, because a lot of it was Blockbuster rentals. Like, most of the PS2... I know that... Okay, I'm going on tangents now, but you can probably tell there's not that much more I have to say about this chapter. It's a defend map, you have to protect Ike for 10 turns, there's a bunch of enemies, they're all pretty much jokes and choke pointing. Well, it's not even choke pointing, he's just standing out in the open. Having ranged weapons just out in the open like this, a bunch of enemies will just suicide into you. And hello, reinforcements. So yeah, tangents, but a lot of PlayStation games that I got into, again, I was one of those weird people who never really cared about console wars. I love both Nintendo and PlayStation growing up. I didn't actually have a Nintendo home console until the GameCube, though, so I missed out on a lot of N64 games until remakes. Part of why I'm much more pro-remake than a lot of other people are, because I just feel like, I mean, there are a lot of games that I would never have played if it weren't for remakes. Especially due to the fact that I live in Australia, and for example, we never got the original release of Chrono Trigger. We had to wait for the DS remake. We never got the original release of Super Mario RPG. We never got most of the Final Fantasies before 7. So that's another reason why I love remakes so much. But I'm going on even more tangents here, but regarding remakes, it is funny that I'm starting to get to a point where remakes of games that I've actually played the originals have started showing up. Like, I never really expected there'd ever be a Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga remake, so I haven't actually played the Bowser's Minions remake because I already played the original, but I'm glad that people who've never experienced a Mario and Luigi game, well, or at least have never experienced that particular Mario and Luigi game, can actually have a chance to play it. And I'm glad that it was able to, at least from what I know, fix a few of the issues in the original game. I mean, I think it did. But anyway. Right, yeah, I wanted Stefan to stay back, like Ike during the Black Knight fight. But anyway, as I was saying, I don't know, I've always been the kind of person, I might have explained this in some other video I've done, but I've always been the kind of person who, I like games, not consoles. I don't really care about consoles or, you know, PCs versus consoles or anything like that. I will get a console if it has games that I like on it. So the main reason why I've never had any Xbox consoles is simply because there aren't really any Xbox exclusives that I've ever been particularly interested in. Every game on the Xbox that I would be interested in is usually also on another console. I think the only time there was an Xbox exclusive game that I was interested in was Tales of Vesperia, and hey, that's getting a remake now for all consoles, so yeah. And it's kind of funny, I'm actually not entirely interested in getting the remastered version. Anyway. One thing I'm actually... Yeah, so this is just going to be the complete tangent episode, isn't it? One thing that I'm actually interested in, though, with that is, because I know that Troy Baker actually did record voice clips for Yuri's PS3 exclusive arts. So, are they just going to reuse that archived audio that they had him record all those years ago? And what about Patty's voice acting in English? Did they actually record voice acting for her back when they were considering localizing the PS3 version, and they're just going to reuse that archived audio? Or are they going to, like now, many, many years later, actually get a new voice actor in to record Patty's lines? Because I haven't really heard of when, like, a game that already had voice acting gets a remaster almost... It's over a decade, isn't it? And they have to get new voice lines for it. It's just kind of interesting to me. I thought there were going to be Cavaliers from the start eventually. There might be, but... See, it's only turn 4, and I'm already resorting to weird tangents. You can tell that this is not a particularly interesting chapter for me. Yeah, the one in Serenes Forest, as I like to call it, is... a lot of people don't like this chapter. I personally... Like, I love the story that goes on here. I love how everything's coming to a head. All these plot threads that have been built up are all finally having payoff now. But what I don't like is just that they had to... I mean, I don't think they needed to make this a 4-part chapter. Especially since Part 1 can be ended very quickly, Part 2 is kind of nothing, and really the only significant story things happen in Part 3 and Part 4. One other aspect of the story, although I'll probably be going into this later, like, there's a lot of people who kind of treat Path of Radiance's story like a sacred cow among Fire Emblem, and I don't know, personally, I think... Dang it. Well, let's shove you with your future boyfriend. Yeah, by the way, Boyd and Mist are actually love interests. I used to be on the Mist and Rolf shipping camp more, but when I found out that according to the art book, Mist and Boyd are actually closer in age than Mist and Rolf are, I kind of... yeah, jumped on Mist and Boyd more. Plus, they have some good interactions in Radiant Dawn. But anyway, what I was saying was the story of Path of Radiance. Like, it's got great writing and it has great dialogue. I still think the plot is a little bit generic, and I will say one aspect of the plot that I do think might have been able to be handled a little better. I was about to say, please hit the next one, but you did far more than that. So yeah, the one aspect that I feel like should have been handled a little better, there was absolutely no foreshadowing for Leanne's existence at all. And when we see what happens, I really hope Jill can survive here, but she should be able to. When we see what ends up happening later on, it really feels like Leanne only exists to quickly resolve a few plot points. Which is all I'll say for now. I feel like they very easily could have made it so that when Rayson was in the Serenes Forest back at the end of Chapter 15, he could have noticed that there was a little patch of maybe growing grass that was just there, and maybe have him comment, wait a minute, and then just, you know, get distracted by Nisala or something and not really pay it much mind. But that could have been a little bit of foreshadowing, but... yeah, Gatry's still over there. I'll explain more when we get to the end of this part. Why I feel like Leanne... she's a bit of a Deus Ex Machina, honestly. And that's why I put you in the bushes. But going back to my earlier tangent, a lot of games that I played growing up I got into via Blockbuster rentals, so like Final Fantasy XII I rented, the Sly Cooper series. Actually, no, I got into Sly Cooper through the demo that was in one of the Ratchet & Clank games. You know how a lot of games have like a code you can enter on the start screen that gives a demo of another game? Yeah, one of the Ratchet & Clank games had a demo for Sly 2, and I instantly got hooked on that game right from that demo. Sly 2 is still probably my favorite in that series. Yeah, my order's probably 2, 3, 1, and then the fourth game is, the fourth game's good, but there are a few story issues that I know a lot of people don't like in that one. Plus, there's the fact that it ended on a cliffhanger and they have no desire to produce a sequel, which definitely hurts that game. But yeah, there was that. There was a lot of GameCube games like F-Zero GX, and Run on Q. There's the Cavaliers and also some Mages. F-Zero GX is one of the few GameCube games that I got into as a kid that I don't own, like that I never found like pre-owned in a store later on. It's probably pretty expensive now, but oh boy, that game's story on hard mode. I actually did beat a couple of the missions on very hard. The one where you have to escape the like exploding facility with Jodie Summers, that one, on normal, that mission is a joke, but on the highest difficulty, you have just barely enough seconds to get out. And one time, I hit the exit right as the timer hit 0, and it doesn't actually count, because the exit closes right in front of you, and your vehicle just crashes into it and explodes. But yeah, there's that. There was, I think I rented Mario Golf, although I'm pretty sure I own that game now. I used to love Mario Golf. I play that with my sister a bit. Have some fond memories of that, actually, because my grandfather loved golf, and that was one of the few video games I could actually discuss with him. And this is why Ike has issues in this chapter. What happens if Volt gets attacked by that guy and a mage? He's probably gonna live, but yeah. And Ike's strong enough to wield a longsword, at least, without getting weighed down. Again, I apologize that I'm just going on tangents. I won't be going on tangents as much during Part 4, because that one's where most of the significant story and gameplay stuff occurs. Part 4 of this can actually be kind of tough if you're not prepared for it. There's a pretty brutal group of reinforcements that eventually spawns in Part 4. Oh yeah, I was just thinking about, so yeah, Ace Attorney I got into via a Let's Play. Not of anyone who's particularly famous now or anything, but I got into that via a, like, really? And that was a while ago. Like, this was long before people like NCS and Lucagen started doing Ace Attorney. Really long before. So, yeah, I was into Ace Attorney, sorry to say this, but before it was cool. And then Ace Attorney ended up getting me into a certain cartoon when I watched a crossover series that was actually really, really good. Like, I watched that crossover series thinking, I mean, I don't even care this is a crossover. This is just a really good Ace Attorney fan case. But, yeah, it's kind of funny how certain series can get you into other series without you really expecting it. Well, your strength curse has been cured, I guess. And then, okay, there's an arch down there with a venom bow. As you can see, most of the enemies are gone, and we still have a few more turns to go. Now, I've actually forgotten if this one ends early, if the enemies are all dead. But considering this game's track record with defend maps, it probably doesn't. Many defend maps in this game can't be ended early. Radiant Dawn is the exact opposite. They kind of tried to compensate for that. Most defend maps in Radiant Dawn, if you're going out of your way to break the game, they end very early. They end extremely early. I can still dodge even while carrying someone. I had a Fire Emblem related tangent that I was going to talk about, didn't I? But I think I've kind of forgotten it by now. No reinforcements, good. Okay, Nephany hasn't done a lot here. Maybe she'll stay back to fight the reinforcements next time. Like I said, the actually somewhat difficult reinforcements. I mean, not so much difficult as they can kind of be a threat. That's also why I don't want to, I don't like it. But if you're pushed one space, you might be able to get in range. That's also why I don't like deploying too many reinforcements here. Although I do think Morim is a good reinforcement to deploy in this chapter, because he's pretty decent, even without any training. But I don't like, if you deploy your maximum allotment of reinforcements every part, you end up with way too many characters by the end of part 4, and there's just too many weaklings to keep track of. Because there's no way you're actually training that many characters. It's like 18 or something that you end up with if you use the full allotment of reinforcements every time. It's just, that's why I like to hold off on deploying reinforcements most of the time. Would you expect anything less from Stefan? And now I guess it's the moment of truth. We'll finally find out if this chapter ends when all of the enemies are gone, or if it doesn't. Let's just overkill you. Titania might need this to fight the, like I said, the reinforcements in the next chapter. Speaking of the next chapter, Jill is going to be very important. You want a good flyer for the next one. Because the next chapter is kind of weird in that it's not actually a timed mission, but it might as well be. For certain reasons that will become apparent, but yeah, it's kind of interesting the way the next chapter works out. It's over very quickly, but I can't quite explain why that is yet. I am so sorry, Solitary Priest, but I have to do this. And you know your speed is bad when Gaetru's doubling you. Probably should use an occult to teach Gaetri Luna. Oh yeah, also, by the way, speaking of things that I should do, I don't know why I haven't used the boots yet, I'm stupid. I'm kind of considering who to use them on. I don't think I'll be using them on Gaetri. Sometimes I like using them on Ike. As I expected. No enemies left, I still have to wait out the full turns, don't I? That is always irritating. And there are more reinforcements. Well, I guess I can try and have Miss restore you. And at least this map is fairly small, so despite being forced to take 10 turns, it doesn't really go on for that long. And Miss getting a lot of experience. Yeah, that's another consequence of having a really freaking long chapter, is that your healers definitely get a workout. Again, I don't care what anyone says, I still love Swordmasters in this game. I'm going to double you with a hammer just for extra humiliation points. Smash it with a hammer! Which, by the way, is something that I plan to reference in Radiant Dawn at one point. And if you're familiar with Radiant Dawn, you probably know when I'm going to reference that. It's not until pretty late, though. Might as well just finish you off now. And get used to this theme while it lasts, as I said in the last part. I actually much prefer this battle theme to the one we get from the next chapter onwards. Hey, you actually hit. That was kind of surprising. You're at an A in sword. No, you're at a B in swords, okay. And, you know, I'm keeping that occult in his inventory just because I want to... Does anyone... Okay, you need healing. I can get a little bit of staff experience for Soren. But yeah, I want that to be the occult that... I don't know if I can really control that, but I want that to be the occult that Ike uses to learn Aether, because I feel like that conversation is meant to establish that canonically Ike learned Aether there. I still have the, like, the GameCube controller layout on the side there, but I don't know, I'm actually okay with that. A lot of people have that on. You can turn it off, but, yeah. Oh, also, by the way, something that I, considering that I have very little to talk about right now, I might as well just show this. We can make the grid extra thick. I don't know why you'd want to play like this, but you can. Now let me just see if I can restore it back to how it was. I think it was like around there. Yeah, that looks about right. But that's still pretty funny. I don't know why anyone would want to have it that thick. And it's over. And we get to hear this song again. It's just, Oliver is that, you know, I don't know, I wouldn't say sympathetic, but like that ineffectual villain who just constantly fails all the time, and it's really hilarious. Almost like anime Team Rocket level of villain you can't help but find funny just for their ridiculous antics and how deluded they are into thinking they're a threat. So that's over. And now we're in the fourth and final part of the Serenes Forest. It's almost time to settle this. Oh, and I think what's about to happen is... I don't know if it happens now or if it happens at the beginning of part 4, but the conversation that I wanted Boyd deployed for, and in fact, I think this is it, because Boyd's on the map right here. So Ike has actually been kind of dumb here. He's stuck with half skill and speed for this chapter and the next one. Well, actually, you do have half speed still, so yeah. And here is a special scene that only happens if you have both Mist and Boyd deployed. So Mist just suddenly had the smite skill. This is even funnier if Mist's promoted now, because then she manages to smite Boyd while on a horse. So this scene is much, much shorter if Mist and Boyd aren't deployed. But that's the reason why I wanted to bring Boyd, just because that's a little bit of extra dialogue you get here. And Boyd is still over there in the corner of shame. No, we shouldn't get more reinforcements. It's more trouble than it's worth. And so we get to save here. And given how long that went on for, I'm going to have to make that a separate part to part 2, sorry. So join me next time for the finale of Day Breaks and the final reckoning with Oliver.
Blessed with such radiance, I have no foes, only inferiors.